Yes, it is, my friends. It is Carlin on 98.7 ESPN at 800-919-3776, 800-919 ESPN, with you for the next 2 hours, and so much to do over the course of the next 2 hours. And we start with Sam Darnold right out of the gate, and quite simply, I am a long way to losing faith in Darnold as the guy long term. And after yesterday, I don't think he's the guy. Look, the questions are very, very real when it comes to the New York Jets and the quarterback position. You can deny all you want. You can talk about what they didn't have last year. You can talk about the fact that they've never put anybody in place to help him at the receiver position. Hit anything you want to. What we saw in Buffalo was alarming, to say the least, yesterday. And it made me believe that Sam's not the guy for the long haul with the Jets. And the reason is this. What was happening out there? He didn't have much of a clue. We had heard all through the preseason that Sam was quicker to the ball. He was quicker to the play. He understood exactly where he was going with the football. He understood exactly what he was seeing, and everything was just coming so much quicker. You know what wasn't coming quicker? Oh, I don't know. Breaking the huddle out of a television timeout. That wasn't coming quicker. Decision-making wasn't coming quicker. Taking sacks he shouldn't be taking. Look, I get it's the Bills. The Bills are a very, very good to borderline great defensive team. And the Jet offensive line, reconstructed as it is, didn't exactly distinguish itself right out of the gate. But let's be clear. When you have as many missed opportunities as the Jets had yesterday, you have to be thrown off by that with Sam. You have to be. Tell me you watched that game and thought it was all about what he didn't have. Yeah, there were a couple of drop passes here and there by Jamison Crowder. There was also a couple of times where Jamison Crowder is wide open downfield and Sam ends up running out of bounds. There were opportunities to get rid of the football and deliver it on time, and it didn't happen. Missed throws. There were opportunities to make plays on the run. Remember when that was supposed to be such a big part of his game? A guy who could extend a play outside the pocket? Well, that's no good if you're not delivering the football to where it needs to go. And you saw early in that game, he wasn't. He was missing receivers when he was on the run. Yeah, a little bit under siege. But part of the Sam Darnold package is supposed to be that mobility, that ability to continue to keep hope alive on a play that might have been previously thought dead. Well, he keeps hope alive, but he takes it away pretty damn quickly. We had Brian Billick on here last week. We've had many other people say this, but this was just most recent. For a player, and most notably a quarterback, if it's not there in year 3, it's probably never going to be there. This is a bad start. And I wanted to believe in all the good things with Sam. And maybe it'll show up. But right now, if I was on the fence in the middle about what he was going to be, even slightly optimistic, I have shifted way over to the other side. And frankly, now I'm going to be surprised if he turns into a very good quarterback. And you might be saying it's too early. It's not. It's year 3. It's about elevating your teammates. It's about making plays and keeping your team in a game that, frankly, they were getting their tails beat. And the only reason that they were in the game to begin with wasn't because of Sam. It was because the Bills, as good as they are, played poorly and still were steamrolling them. And we all know that game was not nearly as close as the score would indicate. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time with Sam you looked at it and said, wow, what an unbelievable play that was. He makes some nice throws here and there. That happens. The over-his-shoulder catch by Le'Veon Bell is a nice throw. He is capable of doing that. But I don't know how running to your left as a right-handed quarterback and turning and throwing the ball across your body to the middle of the field can ever be considered a great play. It can only be considered a disastrous decision. And that's what it is. And the disastrous decisions are the things that are supposed to be gone. It's one thing if you're not making massive plays all over the place. It's another when you can't eliminate the big, big, big problem. And he hasn't done that. I can't get over how so much was stressed about being in Adam Gase's offense for a second year and his ability to see things just so much quicker and so much better and understand what they were doing right away. And then yesterday, just have all of that disappear so quickly. You want to talk about no preseason games? Okay. You want to talk about the fact that, it was live for the first time? Fine. This is not the first time the guy has gotten on an NFL field. It's not. It's the 27th time. Game number 27 for Sam Darnold. These are when these numbers start to count and start to get eerie. And when I told you a month or two back that the worst position you can be in is to be in one that would have you thinking about the Bears and Mitch Trubisky at the end of the year and actually having to make a decision on whether or not you're going to keep Sam for the long term or whether or not you're even going to pick up the option for the 5th year. All problems. The Jets have problems at the quarterback position, and it's not getting fixed overnight. The quarterback whisperer of a head coach could be screaming into his ear, and it's not changing right now. That has to go away. The horrible decisions have to go away for there to be real progress made. I see no progress. Game 1, overreaction city, panic city. No, not panic city. Alarmed. I'm alarmed at what's going on. It's not panicking over one game. It's panicking over 27. Being alarmed over 27. Tell me I'm wrong. 800-919-3776. 800-919-ESPN. It is Carlin on 98.7 ESPN. You can also tweet the show at Chris Carlin, at CHRISCARLIN. Please inform me, enlighten me as to what I am watching and not being uber concerned about it. Tell me why I'm wrong. 11 after 8. A lot to pack into 2 hours. Me, you, more you than me, but even more me. 98.7 ESPN.
Weeknights at 10 p.m.
Carlin, 98.7 ESPN, 815, 800-919-3776, 800-919 ESPN. We can also hit your calls on this Giant game as it is going on. Giants currently lead 10-9 in the second quarter. But more so right now, let's get into the Jets. And we hit Buddha in the Bronx to start things off tonight. What's up, Buddha?
Hey, what's going on, Chris? Man, you know what's up. How do you spell relief? R-O-L-A-I-D-S? And why do you need relief? J-E-T-S, Jet. Let me tell you something, man.
It's staggeringly bad.
My weekend started off, really funny. I called Anita Marks, and I'm talking about the Jets, and I'm, me and her, we're agreeing they have absolutely no shot to win this game in Buffalo. Then Greeny calls up after I call, he says he agrees with a couple of points I have. But Sam Darnold, I said, it seems to me that Joe Douglas is setting up Adam Gase and Sam Darnold to clean the whole house. Because he gave the kid nothing to work with. I'm not making excuses for him.
All right, let me ask you this question, though. Buddha. First things first, okay? The offensive line yesterday did not play well. Becton looked good, but other than that, they did not play great, and that's a very, very tough defensive front. But what big weapon was there for Joe Douglas to go get this offseason that was going to make a big difference for Sam or get other weapons? What did I miss in terms of those weapons?
They could have got Hopkins if they really wanted to.
I don't know that they could have. I don't know if that. I don't. First of all, I don't know that they're trading Hopkins inside the conference. When you trade a player like that, you try to trade him outside the conference. And secondly, you don't know that they were presented with that opportunity. And if memory serves, when asked about it, Joe was like, "Well, that wasn't something that was offered in our direction."
Listen, I'm here to give Joe Douglas the benefit of the doubt long term. But you have to admit that he didn't do really much. He didn't do much in terms of, doing any type of free agency thing. But you know what?
Well, but here's what they tried to do, Buddha. Here's what they tried to do. They tried to get Jack Conklin as their left tackle. He didn't sign here. And so after that, there were not big-time offensive lineman free agents, and he went out and got the best ones that he could. And this line will be better. But this line yesterday did not look great. It did not look like a terribly cohesive unit. And that's problematic. But as far as the weapons, I don't think there was a massive weapon for him to go get.
It doesn't even have to be a massive weapon. You can't give me Brashard Perriman. This guy sneezes and breaks his ankle. He comes out of bed lame. Come on, that was a bad signing. That guy has never played a full season since he's got in the NFL.
Hey, listen, I don't love Brashard Perriman, and thanks for the call, Buddha. I really don't. I think Brashard Perriman is somebody that had some great numbers toward the end of last season. But the only reason he had those great numbers is that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were both hurt. And that was over the course of the last 4 or 5 games of the year with a quarterback that threw for 5,000 yards, half of them to the other team. 800-919-3776. Open lines. Let's hit them. We continue with Anthony in West Orange. Anthony, what's going on?
Chris, what's going on, man?
Tony, what do you got, brother?
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to say that I listen to ESPN radio all the time, but I never call. But the disgustingness of yesterday has moved me to call tonight.
I want to say I'm sorry for that, but I'm glad you called. I'm just not glad why.
Yeah, tell me about it. I just wanted to make a few points. One is I agree with you in the fact that, I had hopes for Sam, but I just don't think that he's the guy. And I don't think that's as much his fault as everything. Yesterday, the first drive, we go 2 run plays, and then 3rd and 15, we call a flanker screen at the line of scrimmage.
That 3rd and 15, that play that you're talking about, it was a 3rd and 9, I think it was actually. And no, that was the second series I'm thinking of. Yeah, you're right. Hey, look,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, some of it is check out of it because they're reading blitz and try to get the ball out quickly and try to take advantage of a mismatch. I'm not defending it at all. Adam Gase
My
is a big part of the problem.
My other question is, do you think that, I heard people this morning saying tank for Trevor Lawrence. Like, do you think that if we even get a Trevor Lawrence or a Mahomes or a Watson, like that wouldn't even make a difference?
Why wouldn't it make a difference? Why wouldn't it make a difference?
I think it's so much bigger than like the quarterback. I think you plug Sam in on, like, Matt Ryan leaves the Falcons, you plug Sam in there, he would be 10 times better. But you plug in.
I don't know. I don't know, man. Listen, no, I don't think. No, Anthony. No, if you took him, and thanks for the call. If you took Mahomes and put him on the Jets, he would not be as bad as Sam Darnold. And if you took Sam Darnold and put him on the Falcons, he would not be 10 times better. He'd be better because he has Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, but he wouldn't be 10 times better. He wouldn't be Matt Ryan. I'm more alarmed by the decision-making right now. And also, frankly, by missing plays that are there. By missing throws that are there when you are there to extend a play. That's where you really get into trouble and you start to worry about where the future is for this guy. And after 27 games, I don't know where it is. Chris in Manhattan next, 98.7 ESPN. Chris.
Good evening, Chris.
You're very calm.
I'm glad you brought up, what'd you say?
You're very calm.
For now. I'm trying real hard, bro. Because you're on this Sam Darnold kick, and this is for Buddha in the Bronx who knows how I feel about Sam Darnold. Adam Gase got my man looking like bum juice. Now, let me tell you something, man. Okay, we have a revamped offensive line that's kind of playing due to, lack of continuity, snaps together. They're playing like five-finger spread instead of like a fist. But I would like you to talk about some play calling. I would like you to talk
don't worry.
about
I'm going to get
inventiveness. I hope you do, because the inventive or lack of inventiveness of play calling is ridiculous. There are about 5 guys that I would like to see calling plays for Sam Darnold. I mean, whether we're talking about different formations, whether we're talking about motions, come on. You need to help your young quarterback out. And how's your running game yesterday? How's your running game?
It was terrible. They rushed for 50 yards. I mean, for Pete's sake, it was terrible. So they didn't. And even to your point about the play calling, right? I think about the first play of the game. They throw the football, they miss it. 2nd and 10, we hand it off. Bell's going nowhere.
Okay. This
3rd down, and it leads to the 3 and out so easily it wasn't even funny. I mean, this is the point. You're 100% right.
27 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many of those games are underneath Gase? And then I want you to ask yourself, has it looked like he's regressed a little bit under Gase? And you were talking about he couldn't hear what the quarterback whisperer is saying to him.
I was making it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek type point. If Gase is the quarterback whisperer, he ought to start yelling.
No. I want him to block out what he's telling him, because isn't he the same guy who went to him last year and was like, hold up, buddy, you got to scale some of this down. We don't remember that?
Well, let's get to this.
This is your second-year quarterback this is his second time. Wait a minute. How's Ryan Tannehill doing?
I agree, Chris. I agree. Ryan Tannehill's been very good. And listen, Chris, I'm not going to defend Gase. And in fact, we're on the same page here.
First, and he's the head coach.
Yeah, no, I'm starting with the quarterback. I'm starting with the quarterback because the quarterback's going to be here longer than the head coach.
Wait, say again?
I said I'm starting with the quarterback because the quarterback's going to be here longer than the head coach, and I don't want to make excuses for everybody for the next 5 years and find yourselves behind the 8 ball again.
You're not going to, because trust me, if you happen to be in a situation where you have a high draft pick, no, I'm not going Trevor Lawrence. You know what I might be doing, especially if it's very high? I'm trading down out of that. You know Penei Sewell? And I know you know Gregory Rousseau.
Yeah.
I know you know Patrick Surtain. Yes, look, Joe Douglas is not going to get this done in one season. You
No.
have to understand that some of what you're seeing
Listen,
is a byproduct of
well, we
letting
have to
Mike
be clear,
McCaffrey
Chris.
spend
Chris,
money.
Chris, they were never winning the game yesterday, and thanks for the call. They were never going to be good this year. They were never going to be good this year. And it's not over. I sat here the other night and said I want to be hopeful and I want to say 7-9. Well, it was a bad start, but I was counting on yesterday being a loss. But there are much bigger problems with the head coach. And they're not what you think they are. We'll tell you what they are when we come back. It's 8:26, Carlin, 98.7 ESPN. Open lines at 800-919-3776. Also over on Twitter, at Chris Carlin. Join us over there. Be a part of the show. You want to chime in on this Giant game? By all means, do that. We will get to Stevie the Savior later on as well. 98.7 ESPN at 8:26.
You got a bucket list? Okay. Now imagine
All right, your read's coming up after the next break.
Okay.
After the next ad.
pot. Taking a mega chance could mean making your wildest dreams a reality. After all, anything can happen in Jersey.
Individual rates, coverage offerings, and savings may vary.
98.7 ESPN. Carlin until 10 o'clock tonight at 800-919-3776, 800-919-ESPN. Get back to the phones in just a moment. But we have to spend a few minutes here on the head coach. And I started with Sam tonight because that's the more alarming thing to me. That's more about the guy that is going to be here longer and that you have to see show that he is going to lead your franchise. What we have already seen from Adam Gase is that he is not going to be the guy to lead this franchise. I have contended this since Gase was hired, and frankly, many other times over the last 10 years. When you hire a head coach that just got fired, you are in essence telling that head coach that nothing that just happened was your fault. Nothing that just happened had anything to do with you. They didn't give you the right players. They didn't have the right front office in place. What you're doing is saying, God, we're fortunate to get you that quickly, but they fired you because you're a great coach. And Adam Gase is not the only one that has fallen into this category. And frankly, the Jets have been involved in this a little bit too often, frankly, on both ends. Rex Ryan gets fired by the Jets, gets hired by the Bills. What happens? He's gone in 2 years. Eric Mangini gets fired by the Jets, gets hired by Cleveland. He's gone in a year. John Fox gets fired by Denver, a team he had taken to the Super Bowl, gets hired immediately by Chicago, gone in a couple of years. Chip Kelly, fired by the Eagles, immediately hired by the 49ers, gone in a year. Rich Kotite, fired by the Eagles, hired by the Jets, gone in 2 years. There's really been one guy that it has ultimately worked out for, and it may work out for another guy. And that guy was Andy Reid, who had won a ton of games in Philadelphia, and time just kind of got to the point where they had to move on, and they needed a new voice. And that's what happened with Andy Reid there. So he goes to Kansas City and ends up winning his Super Bowl. But we all knew Andy Reid was a Hall of Fame coach before he won the Super Bowl. The other guy we'll see is Ron Rivera, who's a pretty good coach in Carolina, but we'll see what happens in D.C. They obviously got off to a good start. Point is this. You are arming that head coach with the mentality right out of the gate when you hire him right after he got fired, not to change a damn thing of what he was doing. Not to even look at why you got fired. There's no self-evaluation in there. You know, coaches talk so much about how they fall in love with the process of getting better and wanting to be better and evaluating what you're doing. What over the last year plus has made you think that Adam Gase has done anything to evaluate himself in how to get better? I don't know if this is the case behind the scenes, okay? This is purely me speculating by the personality at times of the head coach. But Adam Gase has more of a personality that feels like he is pointing the finger instead of the thumb as to things that go wrong. Some of that happened yesterday. Sam making some throws he just can't make, that kind of thing. Some of that happened yesterday. But this is why it was wrong to go down this path with Adam Gase. It was just someone who had not had a lot of success inside the division. You saw it up close and personal. And while you could make the excuses about he didn't have Ryan Tannehill for half of the games that he was there, you can always find reasons for something that didn't work. You know, when a coach gets a year off after they're fired, you know, maybe they'll go into broadcasting. More often than not, they take a year and they take some time and they evaluate how to get better. You know what they do? They actually travel around to see how other football programs are run, be it in college or in the pros. They go see their friends who are coaches, who are head coaches at big-time programs, or at big time or at NFL level. And they spend time there and saying, they do this. Maybe I can get better doing this. Maybe I'm going to steal this drill. Maybe this would help me get better as a head coach so that the next time around, I'll know what I need to avoid. I just think that when you're in the position of hiring a head coach and you take somebody right away that got fired, if they're not already a Hall of Famer, you're making a mistake. You're making a mistake. Anthony in Queens next on 98.7 ESPN. Anthony, what's up?
Hey, how you doing, Carlin? Thanks for taking my call.
You got it, Tone. What do you got, buddy?
Well, I'm listening to all the conversation. I just parked my car and just went and I came into my apartment. So I'm listening to all the conversation. Everybody's making valid points. What I will agree with you as far as Adam Gase and Sam Darnold is concerned is probably two separate conversations, even though they collide and they obviously meet. But Sam Darnold is one of the questions I wanted to ask you about. Sam Darnold is if he hasn't progressed, obviously that was evident Sunday, and he hasn't really regressed, which people may be debating. My thinking is maybe he's what one of my coworkers told me years ago. Maybe he has plateaued. He reached a point where he can't go any further. So I don't know if you would agree with that or not, because I don't see anything that's wowing me. And then just before I made the call, I was looking at Sam Darnold's draft class. And I was looking at, obviously, the draft before and the draft after. The Jets are looking like a football version of the Knicks to me. Would you agree or not?
Oh, boy. I mean, it's
think
hard not to agree. It really is. And listen, let's be clear, Anthony. I believe that Joe Douglas is the right guy to fix the Jets. And he's going to have plenty of opportunities to do it. Okay? I'm fully on board with Joe Douglas. I'm not with the head coach. And right now, I am teetering with the quarterback at best. Teetering.
Okay. What about the Jets draft picks over there? Now, I do
the
understand
Jets draft picks over the years before. Now, this was Douglas's first draft. The Jets draft picks over the years, over the last 10 years, it's been a disaster. Outside of a couple,
that's true.
Outside of a couple, Jamal was obviously a great draft pick. And I'll get to him in a minute. But, you want to point to a bunch of others and talk about how great they are? There are not a lot of great ones.
No, you think about, you're right. You're absolutely right about that. But they did have, I wouldn't say they didn't have subpar talent. They did have players that could have been developed. And I did see some.
But it's not like you saw a lot of those players. But here, Anthony, here's the problem. It's not like you saw a lot of those players, and thanks for the call, go somewhere else and get developed. They didn't go somewhere else and turn into stars. And I'm not even going down to the Christian Hackenberg route. I think you've seen that the Jets, specifically under Mike McCagnon, just did not draft particularly well. They really didn't. I guess we all kind of figured out why Leonard Williams dropped to the 6th spot, huh? Remember when that was like, oh my God, I can't believe he fell to 6 and they took him. Well, we found out why. Marcus May was a good pick, as it turns out. Speaking of Jamal, seriously, just shut up. You got to take shots when you get there. Oh, I'm not used to my team scoring 30-some points. You got to fire back at Greg Williams because Greg Williams said you might be a little bit bored in what they do. Here's what I saw. One of the very small bright spots yesterday was the fact that the Jets did not miss Jamal Adams in the least. Marcus May slid into the Jamal Adams role and had 2 sacks and knocked down 2 passes. And had probably had an opportunity to get a couple of other sacks. He was damn good yesterday. Call that what it is. So, Jamal, honestly, just leave them in the rearview mirror. You got what you wanted. Stop complaining. Go away. We're done. We'll see you when you play the Jets. I'm sure he'll be running his mouth a ton that week, and it's going to be so tough to do that when you're playing up in Seattle. And, even if the home crowd isn't there, they'd be piping it in anyway. Stop. I used to my team scoring 30-some points. Stop. 800-919-3776. 800-919-ESPN. News on a Jet weapon, and I'm using air quotes, and why the Jets will not be getting his services for quite some time, using his services. We'll tell you about that coming up. Open lines at 800-919-3776. Carlin, 98.7 ESPN. All right, friends. Le'Veon Bell. Looks like it's going to be a few weeks, according to our friend Rich Cimini, with the hamstring issue. Did not come out good in that situation when he hit the deck hard, and you heard Adam Gase kind of describe it as, well, let's hear Adam Gase describe it yourself. We still have the sound of Gase describing exactly what happened with Le'Veon and how bad it actually looked at the time. Here's Gase on that.
That play looked bad. Like I saw him because I'm watching him, and I thought it was going to be a touchdown.
Excellent filibuster.
And then just kind of the way he kind of planted and torqued it looked really bad. And I saw him grab his hamstring. And I'm going, he wouldn't come out. And then when we came in at halftime, I let him go back in there. I was worried about it, and I eventually was.
5 seconds.
Can't put you in there. We can't take a chance of you getting more hurt than what you already are.
It was bad. It was bad, and Rich Cimini says that it is going to be a while for Le'Veon Bell to come back, and it's unfortunate. It's not that he was exactly lighting it up yesterday anyway, but one thing to certainly understand is that he's one of the few offensive weapons that you have, and again, I call him a weapon at this point. We could be looking at a couple of weeks. That's what Adam Gase said on Monday. So that's not an ideal situation, to say the least, and it looks like you're going to get a whole lot of Frank Gore. And I think Andrew Catalon put it as best as you can yesterday about Frank Gore. With Frank Gore, you know you're going to get 2 yards. Jorge in Yonkers. Jorge, what's going on, brother?
What's up, man? Good evening.
How you doing?
So I think the biggest problem with our offense is our identity. And the reason that is because not so much Adam Gase's offense, but you're trying to implement that offense and you don't have the depth or the talent to match it. What we should be doing, I would like to see a more classic run and shoot. 2 runs and a shoot, and you set up your play action that way. You set up your run to throw. You don't have the depth or the talent to go out there 5 wide, 3 receiver formation and expose a defense. You just don't have the talent. And Ryan Griffin was a bright spot last year, and I thought he was underutilized.
Yeah, Ryan Griffin is not, listen, Ryan Griffin is not Chris Herndon physically. He's a nice backup tight end. He's a good player. He is not a feature player in your offense as a tight end.
He's not, but he is better than like what we have to work with. So,
well, you're not exactly setting the bar high, are you?
Right. No, I mean I understand, but we've got to you have a double tight formation. You can with the play action there, you can use the you can open up the short to middle game.
Yeah, look, the bottom line is, first of all,
we can't go deep.
Jorge, first of all, and thanks for the call. First of all, the problem is you have to be able to block first, okay? And the Bills did spend a lot of time in the Jets' backfield yesterday. And it's not that the Jets' offensive line played so horribly. It's that the Bills have a very, very good defense. And that was a tough one right out of the gate for a new offensive line who's trying to come together to face. I do think that this line will get better, but I don't think that it's going to be world-beating, and I don't think that a 2 tight end, take advantage of them both set is really going to do a ton in terms of changing their fortunes offensively. They simply need guys to make plays. But to like the Adam Gase point, and granted, a couple of these could be checks at the line of scrimmage. But quick screens to Chris Hogan, it's not like Chris Hogan is lightning fast and is going to beat some guys out to the corner or to the inside. That's not happening. It's not happening. Let's hit a couple of tweets on Twitter in regard to Darnold and Gase. And, of course, it is at Chris Carlin over on Twitter. This from Steve Spector. A lot of changes on offense this season. Premature to flush everything down the toilet after one game. Can't wait a little bit longer. I'm not flushing everything down the toilet. I'm saying my doubt in the quarterback has risen dramatically based off of that game yesterday. Even though we talk all the time about what he doesn't have, at some point, you have to worry about what you do have and how to take advantage of what you do have. Let's see here. Legion of Knicks checking in on the Jets. So a quarterback, no weapons or a coach who uses his weapons according to a game plan that fits him. Le'Veon Bell doesn't fit a zone blocking scheme. Should be better than this. Mayfield is average with a bunch of weapons. Oh, look, Baker Mayfield is not exactly lighting it up. And Sam Darnold is not making the Browns look stupid for taking Mayfield over him. But everybody's playing a role here, but just don't rule out the quarterback in playing a big role. At some point, you have to play better. Brian Meister, 28. Do you see Saquon Barkley tonight when he's handed the ball? That's why Sam has to deal with that's what he has to deal with every game. Is Saquon not a great player? Yes, Saquon is a great player, and what he's referencing is that the Steelers are living in the backfield. Look at who the Steelers have on defense, though. TJ Watt on the ends, Bud Dupree on the ends. They live in the backfield. You're right. Saquon is a fantastic player, and this may not be the game to judge him on. Sam, what he had to face yesterday is not what he's going to be facing every game this year. This has to get better. You need an answer, and right now the answer is no. Richard in the Bronx, next, 98.7 ESPN. Ricardo!
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm great, brother. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. Listen, like I was saying just before, I've been a Jet fan. The last year that they were the New York Titans, that's when I became a Jet fan. Actually, I was pissed off when they changed the name to the Jets. But what my point I want
Why?
to get
It's
to
gone
is,
so well since.
Yeah. Listen, Adam Gates is not an offensive guru. He really is not. If you watch any of his game plans, the ones that have been good in the first quarter have been good in the first quarter. But he doesn't make any adjustments after that. And as far as Darnold goes, I was so disappointed yesterday. Even I'm screaming when he's rolling to the right, throw it away, throw it away. No, what does he do? He takes a 5-yard sack. That doesn't show any improvement.
Those are the kind of things that drive you insane. Those are the kind of things that it's not even not making big-time plays. It's making silly plays that you can't make.
Right.
Thanks, Richard.
So, thank you, man. Just talk me off the ledge. Talk me off the ledge.
Hang in there, man. Right now, I wish I could. Maybe by Thursday. I don't know. At the moment, what is there to talk you off the ledge? You know? Don't do that. It's only the Jets. They should never affect you to that level. I understand sometimes where the pain is. I mean, if you saw that Curb Your Enthusiasm episode this year, it was the Jets, man. Finally, they put them over the edge. It's been so difficult to watch, and this is why it may be hard to believe that I'm actually bullish on the future because of the guy in charge. What I need right now, first thing I need out of this season is to know that the quarterback is the guy. Truly, that's the only thing I need to know. Right now, the answer, incomplete at best. At best. Just can't find yourself in this position again after this year. After 3 years. Can you? You just can't. Can you? I mean, how many times are you going to go through this? We're going to lighten things up a little bit. You know why? 2 words. Stevie Savior. Steve, not Wilpon Cohen. The deal is done. We'll discuss in moments. 98.7 ESPN.
Your family's indoor air quality and comfort has never
Rejoice, Mets fans. Rejoice. For on this day, a Savior is born. His name, Steve Cohen. The deal is done. All that needs to happen now, 3 brilliant days in November, and approval must come forth. And it might feel as if it's coming from a little town of Bethlehem, but I'm assuming that they're somewhere in Florida this year. I don't know where the owners' meetings are, but that's what's left. Steve Cohen needs 23 votes of the 30 major league owners to become the new owner of the New York Mets. The deal was consummated today between the Wilpons and Cohen. He will own 95% of the team, and he will purchase it for $2.42 billion. First things first. Now, remember that this was supposed to be roughly $2.6 billion that he was going to pay the first time around. So by walking away and coming back, he saved $200 million. That's pretty damn impressive. But more importantly, assuming that everything goes through, your long flushing nightmare will come to a close. First of all, let me say this. On a personal level, I hate that it ends with everybody having these feelings, because I have to tell you, in my 8.5, 9 years at SNY, Fred and Jeff Wilpon were nothing but great to me. And Fred specifically was a big backer of mine. And very nice man to me, really a class act in a lot of ways. And we spoke after I left in 2016, and I saw him again a couple of years later. And I really do like Fred, and I don't have anything against Jeff personally. He and I got along fine. I just think when Jeff was running this team and Fred was not willing to spend as much, Jeff was not willing to spend as much, and everything that happened from 2009 on, this was just an utter disaster that was really never getting better. And I understand that they went to the World Series in 2015, but these days coming up in November are more important to the Mets fan than any games that have been played in October in 15 years, easily. This had to happen because this franchise has been stuck in the Wilpon mud for quite some time. The fact that I like them on a personal level does not excuse what's gone on an ownership level. And it's been nothing short of a mess for years and years. And to have a team like this that every season was just asking you to bank on that 4-letter word, hope. It just was so unfair in so many ways. You can't keep asking your fans to do that. You can't keep asking your fans to just pray and try to catch lightning in a bottle. Any way you want to put it. Hope has been a very dangerous thing for the Mets.
Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways it has for a lot of fans. So there is an awful lot of rejoicing on social media tonight, as there should be. And assuming this gets done, and let's just be clear on this. It's not a lock that the approval happens. There are two things that are really going to hold it up. Number one, and this is the most important thing, is that the other owners are going to sit there and look at Steve Cohen and worry that he is going to break the bank and spend a ridiculous amount of money and, in essence, break the system that they have tried to put in place for so long. And be that owner that is irresponsible with money. Well, you don't get to be somebody with $14 billion by being irresponsible with money or being stupid. The other thing is, obviously, they will, and I hate to put it this way, but it's true. If they do have that concern and it's big enough that they don't want to approve them as owners, approve Steve Cohen and company as owners, they will use the insider trading charges from years ago and the harassment charges, harassment claims that are going against his firm right now as an excuse to not make that happen. That won't be anything out of true moral problems with it. Trust me. Go look at the history of some of the owners. Moral issues have never been a concern before. So let's not pretend that they are now. You're just afraid that he's going to go out there and outspend everybody else and do it in an irresponsible way. I think he'll get approved. And I don't think, to be honest, that he's going to walk in and just open the checkbook and said, here you go, fellas, have at it. I think he'll come in. I think he'll move on from management. Maybe he keeps Luis Rojas, who knows? Maybe he brings in a GM and lets that GM pick his own manager. I would fully expect that Brody would be gone. I would fully expect that they would just clean house across the board in so many ways and try to get the bad taste out of a lot of people's mouths. And, you know, there are really good people that work for the organization, and I would hate to see that, but I think it's something that's going to happen in a lot of departments. Now, more than anything else, if you are expecting him to come in and do that and just open up that door, open up that checkbook and let everybody go to town, I would caution that probably is not going to come right away. I think in a more likely scenario, it is, we'll get better incrementally, but we need to get the whole operation better first. I don't think he's going to sit on money. I don't think he's going to let an opportunity pass him by. I think the Mets will be in play on the big-time free agents that they need to be in play on. But I don't think it's going to be all at once. You have to wait to see how the collective bargaining agreement works out. I don't think you're going to see the winter meetings this year all of a sudden turn into a massive, massive spending spree for the Mets. I don't foresee any of that. What I do see is an organization that will be on the right track and will be run in a much more responsible fashion and in a way that will get them back toward working toward a championship. Your long, flushing nightmare is close to being over. Never closer than on this very night, the 14th of September, 2020. And for everybody that has bemoaned the year 2020, there is at least one group of fans that can look at it at the end of it and say, the short season, staying home, just on a personal level, not of everything awful that's happened in the world, at least they'll be able to see some brighter skies. And those people will be the Met fans. Come the middle of November and those few ownership days. How excited are you right now, Mets fans? 800-919-3776. 800-919-ESPN. Anything you want on all the football. Giants drive down the field and they turn it over at the goal line. Oh boy. 800-919-3776. Those few days coming in November are bigger than any October games the Mets have played in 15 years. We're going to get to some Yankee thoughts as well coming up. It's Carlin till 10 o'clock on 98.7 ESPN.
98.7.
98.7 ESPN.
NFL calls 800-919-3776, 800-919-ESPN. You can call about the Giants in the middle of the game as well as you, if you wish. Giants went on an 87-yard drive and turned it over at the goal line. Bud Dupree hitting Daniel Jones as he was throwing the football. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh is now into Giants territory. But oh my. Oh, was somebody rolling tape on this? Leonard Williams just got a sack. Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. They should start scrolling on the bottom of the game. Breaking news. Leonard Williams got a sack. We did it. Yes, we can. Richard in Manhattan. Richard, I have to fire up the music. Have at it, brother.
Chris, did you watch the Dallas-LA Ram game last night?
I did.
That was one of the greatest opening day games I've ever seen. And I hate indoor football. I mean, it was hard-hitting, well played. That was like a playoff game.
That was an excellent game. You're right. I would agree with that.
Now, I was falling asleep at the end. Did McCarthy shun the field goal at 4th and 3 at the 11?
With a lot of time left. With a lot of time left as well, Richard, he did. And he could have tied the game up at 20 and instead decided to go for it. Made absolutely no sense. And not only that, Richard, they threw it to CeeDee Lamb, who on the 4th and 3 ran a 2-yard route.
Chris, in the old days, you never saw that, ever. I mean, I know they do it
saw it last night, Richard.
Now and that, they do it now and then, now. But 30 years ago and before, you never. He should be killed for that. Killed.
Well, not actually
the game
killed.
Away. There was no excuse for giving that.
Richard, he's been getting filleted all day for it. Not actually killed, but filleted. Ripped up and down. He's been getting hammered for it all day.
And they didn't. And really, Dallas got outplayed that game. Any chance that they had to tie at that point would have given him a little life. That was awful because L.A. looked great. They looked fantastic. They were rotating those 3 running backs. That was a great game. It was one of the best games I've ever seen opening day. Chris, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. That was nice and quick and painless and, painless, to a degree, I guess, In Richard terms, painless? Yeah, sure. 800-919-3776. 800-919-ESPN. Carlin, 98.7 ESPN. I want to spend a few minutes here on Gary Sanchez. And I think there's a very interesting scenario that is starting to play out. What am I talking about? Well, quite simply, it's this. Is Gary Sanchez going to be a New York Yankee in 2021? At this point, I am convinced that the answer to that is no. Here's why. Have you noticed lately that we've seen less of him? And yes, he's been struggling at the plate. But we've seen less of him in a very specific situation. What am I talking about? Remember early in the year, first game of the year, in fact, Garrett Cole on the mound, Gary Sanchez behind the plate. And Garrett Cole's talking about how much he loves Gary Sanchez and how well they work together behind the plate on the whole night. And every time that he went out there and pitched well, he was just over the top complimentary of what Sanchez was doing. This is Garrett Cole, $324 million that they paid this offseason. Garrett Cole is going to get what Garrett Cole wants when it comes to a catcher. But it was clear that they wanted the two of them to work together for a while. And then, in the last 2 starts, Kyle Higashioka has been out there. Interesting. Now, in the first of those 2 starts, didn't go great. He ended up giving up, 5-6 runs. Only one of them was earned. But it didn't go well at all. And then, the first game of the doubleheader on Friday night against the Orioles, he was absolutely brilliant. 7 shutout innings and getting to win a complete game, being the 7-inning doubleheader. And Higashioka was with him that night. I'm very curious. Is Kyle Higashioka going to be behind the plate on Wednesday night? Because if that happens in 3 consecutive starts for Garrett Cole, there is something to that. Maybe all of the talk about the pitch framing, about the defense improving, about calling games, maybe a lot of it was just that. Maybe it was just talk. It was Cole coming in, wanting to be a good teammate, doing all the right things, and ultimately calling the game himself that he wanted to call. That's why he's here. If Gary Sanchez is not in the lineup on Wednesday, catching, it will confirm my suspicions. Gary Sanchez is not going to be a Yankee next year. I'm fully convinced of that right now. I think we have seen enough. I think the Yankees have seen enough. If you're Brian Cashman at this juncture in Gary Sanchez's career, you have ridden this out as long as you can. We know what the power numbers are. But if you have absolutely no concept of when he's going to be any form of consistent or when home runs might actually start to come in bunches, which they haven't this year, then what are we doing here if he's not a good defensive catcher? You can't DH him if he doesn't hit well enough. And if he's not catching well enough, you can't keep him. Now, I'm not saying they're going to non-tender Gary Sanchez. Of course not. That would be ridiculous. But I absolutely believe that Sanchez will be traded because you're going to end up coming out of this season. He'll be arbitration eligible again. He made $5 million this year. Is that number going to jump to 15? It's not. That number may go up a couple million, but it really shouldn't, as we know. And the Yankees are going to be in a position where they could trade him. What's going to be unfortunate is they're never going to get the return that they once might have. You know, had they done it a couple of years ago when they were pursuing JT Realmuto. That's who the Marlins wanted, and the Yankees said absolutely not. And you understood why at the time. Hindsight being 2020, there's no question who you would rather have right now. Realmuto is special behind the plate, and yes, he's older. He's, 31 and going to be a free agent. But if he's available this offseason, I don't know that they're going to break the bank for him. I don't know what that looks like this offseason for Realmuto at 31. Is that a 5-year deal for $100+ million? It very well might be. And he's an excellent offensive player. And he's also a great, great defender. It depends what they think they have left in him when they get him defensively. There's a strong chance that Realmuto does not re-up in Philadelphia. I mean, there's already been the story that he's waiting for the Steve Cohen offer from the Mets. But keep this in mind about him. He's somebody that any pitcher on the Yankees would be more than thrilled to be throwing to. Would be more than thrilled to have behind the plate in terms of blocking balls. Nobody would ever have any hesitance about throwing a ball in the dirt, knowing that he's going to get in front of it. And his offense is excellent. He's hitting cleanup for a while for the Phillies. I got to check and see where he's been hitting lately. He may still be. He's a very good player. But the Mets may be in on him this offseason, and the Yankees very well may be too. I'm telling you, Gary Sanchez is not going to be a Yankee next year. I 150% believe that to be the case. 800-919-3776. 800-919-ESPN. I did mention that earlier today on Monday's edition of Savages in the Box, which is, of course, our daily Yankee podcast. 15, 20 minutes of some hard-hitting analysis, maybe some sound from players and Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman and whomever. But really just trying to break things down for you without breaking things down. What that means, I have no freaking idea of what I just said. But I like to think it's an entertaining little podcast that you get Monday through Friday. We will not have a fresh one tomorrow with no game tonight, but most days you get it. If there's no game, generally next day, maybe not. But I've had a lot of fun doing it. And by all means, if you subscribe to Carlin on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, you get Savages in the Box in there, and it's an absolute blast. So by all means, and by the way, you get the best of this show too. So go there, subscribe, rate, write some reviews. Tell me what's good and what's not good, because I want to know. Get it all to me, because I am somebody that craves feedback. I need to know what you think of me, good or bad. I need to know. 800-919-3776, 800-919-ESPN. Why this has all turned for the Yankees, we will tell you why. When we come back, open lines, great chance for you to get through. Right here on Carlin till 10 o'clock, 98.7 ESPN. Carlin, 98.7 ESPN, 800-919-3776. We got open lines. Excellent chance for you to get through. We will also check you out on Twitter as well, at Chris Carlin over on Twitter, at CHRISCARLIN. Giants losing 19-10 right now, early in the fourth quarter. Well, not so early, about 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and Pittsburgh converting yet another third down, so the Giants not in good shape at the moment, down 2 scores, and Pittsburgh with the ball at midfield. A couple of other tweets I wanted to get in there from earlier. Sam didn't play well yesterday. This is from Neil Scantcarella, Skip84. Sam didn't play well yesterday, but the Bills had 9 to 10 guys near the line of scrimmage all day. What receiver on this team could get separation? Did he have a running game? No. Look at the play calling from the Rams game. Goff got rolling out. Need to do that with Sam. Here's the problem, though, with Sam. When he was outside the pocket yesterday, it's not like he was drilling it in there and delivering the football on time in the way he needed to. That's a bigger issue for Sam. And you have to recognize that that's a real problem when that's supposed to be a big facet of his game. True New York Jet, GS, that's fine, but if you're saying that in reference to Sam, look at every other quarterback from the Watson draft to this year's, and who has had the worst cast of weapons to help with the progression in 2 coaches. Yeah, again, guys, that's all fine, okay? We get it. He hasn't had a lot of weapons to work with. He's got a better offensive line now to work with. He's in the Gase system for the 2nd consecutive year. That is supposed to translate to something positive. That is supposed to be something good. It doesn't look like it right now. All through training camp, they sold us, oh, he's quicker to the line of scrimmage, he's quicker to the ball, he's quicker to everything going on. You have to understand, Sam is, much more cognizant of all the plays that are in front of him and when to check out, and the whole operation is just running smoother. Then why are you having to take a timeout coming out of a television timeout? He didn't even take a timeout. He took a delay of game because you didn't have presence of mind to take timeout. Come on. That's the kind of thing that can't happen. And it's not even inexcusable. It's not even embarrassing. It's just befuddling. Like, how do you honestly become an NFL quarterback and allow that to happen? Can't get out of the huddle after a television timeout. And Gase is talking about there was a horrible miscommunication and the wrong personnel and the wrong this, wrong that. Whatever it was, dude. I mean, taking a timeout would have been bad enough, let alone taking the penalty. Deep in your own territory, for Pete's sake. All right. So let's spend a few minutes on our buddy Gleyber Torres and the glasses, which are looking sharp. They're not prescription, but he's wearing the clear glasses once again. Since Gleyber Torres put the glasses back on, remember, he wore them last year. He is 7 for 14 with 7 runs batted in, 3 doubles, and a home run. Oh, my. That's the Gleyber that we know and love. And it's not the guy that you're going to get time in and time out, but it's a lot closer to the guy that you got last year. And look, if you were losing faith in him, it was entirely too soon to do that. Gleyber is somebody that has proven that he can be a star in this league. And he, put up the massive numbers that he did a season ago. There are things with his game that need to improve, whether it's just moving him back to second base, spending time and playing LeMahieu at first and at third, and maybe some at second next year if you re-sign him, and hopefully they do, for Pete's sake. They got to have LeMahieu back. And getting a defensive shortstop. Or maybe, going and bringing Didi back, something like that. Point being is this. Gleyber Torres is the future of this franchise. And for him to have turned it on like he did over the last week, bizarre as it was that he was actually off yesterday before a day off and came up and pinch hit and delivered, he is the guy that needs to be built around for the future. On the other side of it, you have Stanton coming back later in the week and you have Judge coming back later in the week. Now, I thought it was interesting that the other day, Aaron Boone was asked about what exactly happened that first time around. And maybe it was Brian Cashman. It was Cashman. And basically said that there was a miscalculation in how his injury was handled the first time around, that they were not cautious enough with it. If you'll remember, cautious was how it was initially described, simply holding him out for precautionary reasons. But now that Judge is coming back, you can start to dream about what's possible. Start to realize that you're going to be closer to what you were supposed to have at the beginning of the year and for the entire season, and closer to what this offense is supposed to be in general. And if you have them back a week ahead of the postseason and they are clicking by the time we get there, phenomenal. Color me skeptical still on the whole thing. Again, it's a lot like Bigfoot. I've heard of its existence, but, you know, when I see the two of them in the lineup together, I'll start to believe that it can happen. Why did the Yankees turn their tide here the last week or so after that debacle of a sixth inning in Buffalo last week with Adam Ottavino? It's pretty simple. Their pitching has been absolutely off the charts. We know the starting pitching has been good. You know, we know all about Cole's start. But I want to take you back to Deivi Garcia followed by Cole. Deivi Garcia's start on the Wednesday night of last week was just such an easy and carefree effort. And when he's able to go out there and provide that in such a calm way, boy, it gave him a boost, not only because he pitched so well, but because the whole team seemed to relax around it. And I have always believed that just because you might get a dramatic come from behind win doesn't mean that you're going to snap out of a funk because of that, because it takes a lot of energy out of you. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get back into a groove. It's like, oh, we got that one. Okay, let's try to keep making it happen. No, when you go out there and you win in relaxed fashion, as they did in that final game against the Blue Jays, it gives you a chance to catch your breath, to play in a very relaxed way and win a game and never have it in doubt. And that sets a much better tone for the coming days. And then you have Cole going in the first game on Friday night. And that was perfect for them. Absolutely perfect for them. And so with that being the case, after a brilliant performance, that just set the tone for the rest of the weekend. And now what you saw out of the Garrett Cole brilliance that we have all come to hope for and expect to see was the other guys now in a line that had been started by Garcia. And nobody wanted to be the guy in the pitching staff, in the rotation rather, that tanked that momentum, that didn't go out there and pitch well. Tanaka didn't want to be that guy in game 2. Montgomery didn't want to be that guy on Saturday. J. Happ didn't want to be that guy on Sunday. You know, we talk about carryover things not necessarily happening a lot in baseball, especially when it's a big dramatic win, and can this be a springboard for them going forward? No. This was each pitcher feeding off the last and really locking in and not wanting to be the guy to screw it up. That intensity can be transferred among pitchers. And it was over the last week for the Yankees. And I truly believe that that was the biggest reason why they were able to turn this around and get themselves into a winning streak and out of the debacle that had been the previous 20 games. And now you can calm down. You have buried the Orioles, which you hoped to have done a week earlier, but they're buried nonetheless. You are 4 games ahead of the Mariners in the loss column going into tonight. The Mariners are in the 9 spot. Yankees and Indians were tied for the 7 spot. So you're making the postseason right now. What is important left in the regular season, we'll tell you what it is coming up next, and it's vitally important. 800-919-3776. As many of your calls as we can get in before the end of the show. Top of the hour, Larry Hardesty coming up, ESPN New York tonight in just moments. It's Carlin, 943 on 98.7 ESPN. 800-919-3776. Carlin, 98.7 ESPN, 800-919-ESPN. Giants down 26-10 in the fourth quarter with about 4:20 left. They are driving right around the Pittsburgh 40-yard line. They have not had a great night, to say the least. It has not been a disaster, but it has not been a good night. 800-919-3776. You know, back to some of what we were talking about earlier with the Jets and Sam Darnold. It's not so much that Darnold is definitively going to be a bust in my mind. I'm just worried more about the fact that this is not about one game. It's about 27 games that he has played. And guys, as much as you want to continue to really buy into the whole, look at what he's had to work with and the very little he's had to work with in this whole thing, I understand that. I understand that completely. But you also have to get that if you're going to talk about that, you're going to have to understand that Sam also has to make some guys better. And he hasn't done that. He hasn't shown that he's capable of going out and winning you a football game. Frankly, he hasn't shown that he's capable of going out there and not making massive mistakes, not taking sacks in situations where you cannot afford to take sacks, not missing receivers downfield, whether it's missing them with the throw or missing them by just not seeing them downfield. As painful as that is to think about, it's 100% accurate. I mean, think about that. It's crazy, but it's true. There was a play where he had Jamison Crowder breaking off down the sideline yesterday. As he rolled out to the right, pressure came. Bit of a scramble play. No clue. Wide open. Nobody with him. Didn't even see him. Ran out of bounds, ended up taking a sack. Inexcusable for that kind of thing to happen. Inexcusable. And I think when that's the case, when you have those kind of mistakes, when you have that late across your body as you're running left, throwing back to your right in the middle of the field mistake. I mean, there's like 8, that's like the quinella of mistakes right there. That's about as bad as it gets for a quarterback. And when you're doing all those things, that's what's disheartening. That's what makes you believe that, boy, we've got problems here. It's not a lock that this guy is ever going to fully get it when we're in year 3 with an improved offensive line against a very good defensive team, but you're still unable to kind of break away from that. Sam has me leaning towards no right now. And I want to be optimistic about this. I just don't see it at the moment. Do you? Please tell me why I'm wrong. Please tell me why Sam Darnold is the answer for the New York Jets. Because I do not see it. And I'm not taking any of the blame away from the head coach, because there's plenty to go there too. There's plenty to go toward the head coach. Adam Gase is a guy that came here and got the job when he had just gotten fired from another job. And if you look at the list of coaches that has happened to over the years, it's not exactly murderer's row. In fact, there's only one coach, as I look at a list of those kind of guys over the last 15 years, where that has actually worked out, and that's Andy Reid. He got fired from Philadelphia after a 15-year run when it was just clear that, you know, his time there was pretty much up. You needed a new voice in the building. And he went to Kansas City and wins a Super Bowl. But let me give you a list of other guys that has not worked out for. And I said this when they hired him at the beginning. Rex Ryan gets fired by the Jets, hired by the Bills, gone in 2 years. John Fox gets fired by Denver, hired by Chicago, he is gone in, 2 more years. Chip Kelly, fired by the Eagles, hired by the 49ers, gone in a year. Eric Mangini, fired by the Jets, hired by the Browns, gone in a year. Rich Kotite, fired by the Eagles, hired by the Jets, gone in 2 years. I mean, Ron Rivera's in that situation, and that may work out in Washington, and he was a pretty good coach down in Carolina. John Fox was a pretty good coach earlier in his career, but went somewhere else. And when you do that, when you talk or when you hire those kinds of coaches, like Gase, like Rex, like all those other guys, it is telling them that whatever got you fired was not your fault. There is no opportunity there for that coach to go and evaluate himself. You know, I'm so sick of coaches talking all the time about how they fall in love with the process of getting better and all that. And yet, so many times we see coaches that just don't get better. And Adam Gase feels like that guy. Let me take that back. Adam Gase is that guy. He's not getting better. And when you continue to foster that kind of a situation, and you have a guy that is not looking at what he did wrong, it fosters that mentality of pointing the finger and not the thumb. It fosters that mentality of it can't be your system. It's got to be the players. Can't have anything to do with you. See, it's backwards. And look, win or lose, it's on the talent. We understand that 98% of the time. But coaches in the NFL can have an effect, I honestly believe, like in no other sport. Truth be told. They can make decisions in a game that can have massive effects on the outcome of that game. Gase has not been good. And then we get to finally the reason why he was hired in the first place. It was to develop the quarterback. What development has happened? There hasn't been any. There hasn't been any development happening. He does not look like somebody that has gotten better. I think a lot of that's on Sam. I think a lot of that's on Gase when that's the reason that you are brought here in the first place. All of these things are troubling about where they are. You knew the Jets were not going to be good this year. We all knew that. But we also needed to know that by the end of the year, one of those questions was answered, the biggest of them all. And that was simply that you had your franchise quarterback locked up and ready to go with Sam Darnold. Yeah, you could talk about week 1 and being in Panic City way too soon. It's 27 games now that he's played. 27. I was exceptionally optimistic a few weeks ago. Yesterday sucked the life out of me when it comes to Darnold. And it wasn't because he had a bad offensive line yesterday. They didn't play great. It wasn't because the play calling was so awful. It wasn't good. It was because there were opportunities on that field to not only make plays, but to not screw up. And he did not take advantage of those opportunities enough. Honestly, just don't screw up. That's the biggest thing. And what happened? He made mistakes that you just can't make anymore. We'll see how it plays out here moving forward. And that's a cop-out thing to say, but I'm not optimistic. I'm not optimistic about where this is headed. And that's a problem. And I don't think I'm the only one who's pessimistic about it. 800-919-3776. 800-919-ESPN. It's Carlin, 98.7 ESPN. That will do it for me. Great job tonight by Joel Pollack. Great job tonight by Giselle Hernandez, backbone of the show. We will see you tomorrow night, a short one with the Islanders in Game 5, do or die, 7 to 7:30 tomorrow night. Larry Hardesty up next, ESPN New York Tonight. Carlin out.
This is
Have a good night, Chris.
All right.
I am the most optimistic person you can be. I'm done. But when are you ever week one looking at your team and going, yeah, no, this is not going to work?
They didn't do anything well. They didn't have a clean game. And I just expected it to look a little better. I'm wondering.
Hello?
Identity crisis about what's
Drop it.